At this moment, I will ask for approval of the minutes from June 16th.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Aye. Opposed?
Everybody that's in favor, raise your hands. Okay,
If you want to vote yes on the motion, wave your hand. Okay. So moved. We have one new open hearing to open, and it's for 237 Forest Street, request for determination of applicability and stormwater management permit for ECR Evan Faithful to construct a single-family home and related amenities. And proposed work is in the outer buffer zone.
all right, I'm gonna pull up the copy of the plan. Do you have the public hearing? Because I can bring that up.
And hold on, I've got a copy of that.
Okay,
So I will read that into the record. Under the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter 131, Section 40 of Mass General Law is amended, and the West Bridgewater Wetland Protection Bylaw Rules and Regulations, and the West Bridgewater Stormwater Management Bylaw, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing through remote participation on the 7th of July, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. for the request for determination of applicability for proposed work within the outer buffer zone at 237 Forest Street. All interested parties are welcome to join the agenda, and we're open.
Thank you, members of the commission. I'm Brad Holmes with ECR, representing the applicant for this RDA application. Thank you, John, for pulling up the site plan on your computer. What we have is a new lot located in the southern portion of 237 Forest Street. This lot is located in the southern portion that abuts Forest Street. There's a bordering vegetated wetland to the west of the lot that we've delineated that you'll see there. Associated with that is a 100-foot buffer zone that comes landward into the site. And there's also an off-site bordering vegetated wetland to the east of Forest Street that we've approximated to show the buffer zone that extends across Forest Street and into the eastern portion of this lot. So what we're proposing is a new single-family dwelling with driveway, septic system, stormwater infiltration unit. The house is located outside the buffer zone, but the grading at the back corner associated with the septic system and lot grading and driveway associated with the roof infiltration unit and whatnot is located in the eastern portion of the site within the buffer zone to that across the street wetland. So we filed an RDA application seeking your permission to perform this project, and also filed under the stormwater bylaw, or the stormwater regulations to cover this work. Fairly simple new single-family home project within the outer buffer zone. Take any questions you may have.
Is the 50-foot buffer zone in a wooded area back there, or?
You can see the tree line depicted on the plan as it is now. So
Right. Yeah.
yeah, it's mostly within the vegetated buffer. The 0 to 50 is. The 50 to 100 is, as you'll see it. There isn't a lot of work in that piece. Most of that's outside the buffer zone.
Mm-hmm. So how far back do you expect you'll be clearing?
To that limit that's shown on the plan, the proposed erosion control area line. There won't be anything proposed beyond that.
Okay. I guess I was just wondering whether there's any advantage for the commission to have us mark that 50-foot buffer zone, but I don't think so. What do you think, John?
I do feel that if we do issue a -3 determination, we should include the fact that that 50-foot buffer should have PVC pipes set along it, just so that the new owner of the property will recognize that that 50-foot buffer is protected in West Bridgewater. The 50-foot on the other side of the street, it really doesn't, we can't have them mark anything on that because that's private land on the other side of the street, but I think we can do it on
Right.
the rear.
That would be acceptable with us.
I don't have any more questions.
Is Tim still admitting Tim back into the meeting? He must have had to drop out. I'm gonna stop sharing that screen for just a second so I can see who's, I might be able to do it over here. No. Everybody still there?
I am.
Yeah, I am.
Looks like Tim dropped off.
Are you still able to have audio, Tim?
There he is.
Can you hear us, Tim? If you can hear us, give us a wave. No, can't hear you. Can you give us a wave if you can hear us? He just dropped out again. So we really can't take any action until we have the quorum, which would be Tim.
He hasn't had any trouble up till now.
Yeah,
John?
yes.
Yeah, what I've seen done in other towns when there's difficulty like that, the leader calls him on the cell phone and hooks him up by phone. I don't know if that's possible or not.
Thank you, Bisher.
You're welcome.
You want to try it using the phone, or can you hear us now?
I can hear you now. I finally got sound back.
All right, I'll hang up.
Okay. Sorry about that. I lost connection. I reviewed the documents that were submitted. My only question that I had was the elevation of the finished grade compared to what's there now, and how we're going to address the drainage off-site.
Let me call it back up again. Brad, do you want to address that?
Sure. We are addressing the roof water runoff proposed to go into roof infiltration units in the front. We are raising the grade up approximately 1, 2, 3, 4 feet in the backyard and almost 5 feet in the front yard. So the grading will, be shed off, as you'll see the, proposed contours, in basically any rainwater that falls is going to be, located over that new lawn area and shed off in all directions. So as far as, control, we have a large backyard and large side yard. Is there something that you would like to see, or is there something that you think needs to be done with that?
Well, I just noticing with a lot of the development happening lately, they're mounding up the house area and the septic system so much that they're creating runoff that's a higher speed, more flow, and it's either going into the street or onto a neighbor's property because it can't be controlled fast enough with the heavy rainstorms we've been getting. So I just wanted to make sure if this was going to be elevated as high as some of them are, that we can somehow control it. I know some of them we put in where the driveways are a drainage system to catch the runoff in the driveway from getting into the street. I don't know whether this is going to be something we need to look at here or not.
We could incorporate some swales into the grading so that it sheds, away from the street and into the backyard. We have a large space in the back that would be able to percolate through and before it gets to any wetland systems. So that wouldn't be difficult to put a swale on that northerly property line to divert water to the back.
So in this area here,
Sure.
John, I'll defer to John on this and see what he thinks.
so what we can do is we can issue a negative determination with the conditions that the swale will be installed for the northerly side. It looks as if the grades at the street are 64.2. So there is some water that's running into Forest Street from the front, but they've included some roof drainage, which should take away some of that would normally run off. But I think what we can have them do is put a swale down here where it runs, there's no curbing on Forest Street. And we could ask them to swale this area here to collect what they run off and have it go to the back. Does that sound possible, Brad?
Yes, it does.
Okay, any other commissioners have any questions,
don't-
comments?
No,
I don't know if you had heard about the pipes along the 50-foot buffer, Tim?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So with those comments to be addressed through the permit, I would recommend issuing a -3 determination.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. I'll entertain a motion to issue a -3 determination.
Mo will make the motion.
I'll second it.
With conditions.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we'll issue. Moved. It will lead stormwater, so I'll entertain a motion to issue the water permit.
You were cutting out when you were talking, Tim.
Oh, we'll need to issue a general stormwater permit, so I'll entertain a motion to issue that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So moved. So that finishes the hearing for Forest Street.
Well, thank you very
And
much,
that's
members of the
only new
commission,
hearing. Thank you.
and good luck
Thank
with
you,
the
Brad.
remaining meetings. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Next, I think on our agenda, we have map 43, lot 61, Lincoln Street, the abbreviated notice of resource delineation. Have we received the DEP number, John?
We did.
Okay.
Yeah. It is now, of course, I don't have it on this. Rebecca, have you got the
I do have
number?
it. Yep, it's 328-0790.
790?
Thank you.
0790. Yep.
So at the last meeting, there was some questions about the ANRAD that had been reviewed by me back a number of years ago. And according to our records, it was extended to 2011 and has since expired. So having the land sit fallow the way it has, there has been some changes to the vegetation. And so I'm recommending that I'm going to share with the commission some suggested changes out there in the lines because of the basically having it sit fallow. It is allowing some of the vegetation to expand a little bit. So you'll see these red lines on the sketch that I've superimposed on the original plan. And again, because I was the 53G at the time, not working for the town, but as a consultant for the town, I still feel comfortable with my other delineation because I was from way back when, because the original botanist had basically flagged the edge of the cornfield, which is pretty much along the limits of the field, and I disagreed with it and set my own flags, and then had the applicant's engineer go out and locate those flags. So I feel I was being very conservative in my flagging, showing the wetland that I felt was out there versus what the consultant had. So those are my recommended changes, those red lines there.
So you think the wetland line is moved out to those red lines then?
Yes,
John, or
this area is moved out, this area is moved out, and this area is moved out or away from where I had it.
okay. And that's not unusual when you have a certain amount of years go by and these things expand.
Well, when the flagging was originally done, it was a disturbed agricultural field, and it was being grown with corn crop. So they were constantly in there turning over the soil. So we didn't have a lot of surface elevation, surface vegetation to go by. So a lot of it had to be determined by the soil.
Okay.
So a lot of those were augers. This area here is actually a ditch with a culvert that connects. It's an old farm culvert that allowed this area up here, which is some upland area, to be plowed and vegetation grown on it. And of course, all of this was a farm field.
Right. Okay.
All right, I feel comfortable looking at this. Anybody else have any questions or comments?
I don't.
Good with it.
All right.
Steve,
I
are
will
you?
entertain a motion to issue.
I think Steve Winters is in. I'm gonna stop sharing at this point so I can make sure that he's unmuted. Can you hear us, Steve?
Oh, Steve. He might have to unmute it on his end, I think.
Okay, there we go.
There, I got him.
There he is.
Oh, there we go. Any questions or comments, Steve, on this one?
No,
Okay. Hearing none, then I will entertain a motion to issue an abbreviated notice of resource delineation for map 43, lot 61 on Lincoln Street.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
John, would you
so
be able
moved.
to email that? John, could you email that to me?
Yeah.
I can,
Did
I
we
can make
close it?
sorry.
Thank you, John. Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
And I think next we have Scotland and Maple Street.
So did we officially close it, or did
Oh.
somebody?
I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing as well. Yep.
I'll make the motion.
Oh,
I'll second.
moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So
And,
moved.
and I will send that off to you, Rebecca.
Thank you.
Okay, John, whichever one of the Scotland Maple Street you want to start with first is fine with me.
All right.
I don't know which one you have. Andy first.
All right, so what I'm showing the commission is the green area that you see on this plan is the area that the developer wants the commission to be in charge of so that he can assure the MISA program that none of this land will be altered by inadvertent activities by the homeowners association in the future. So at a previous public hearing, or at one of our previous meetings, I should say, the question came up, does this affect the taxes that would be owed to the town? So I reached out to John Donahue, the head assessor, and he has indicated that it would not impact it whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it would make the value of those homes possibly even more valuable because there will be no disturbance behind it. And they'll have all their privacy that they would want. So he was recommending that we do it because we own the land to the rear here already. And he'd much rather see us get it than some wildland trust or one of the other trusts of the reservations, those kind of land trusts.
All right. Anybody else have any other questions,
No,
comments, concerns? All right. Then hearing none, I will entertain a motion to join or accept being granted the stewardship for the conservation restricted land for the project.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved.
Okay, the next item is the suggested order of conditions that I had worked on. And so you can see that it's 6 pages. This red here is just a reservation for making sure that all of the dates and revision dates and so forth match up with the plan from the developer's engineer. And I can take care of that tomorrow with no trouble at all. So we went over a lot of it at the last meeting. And one of the things that I needed to finalize, and I tried to see it in my notes, and I just couldn't find it this afternoon. So if you guys could let me know what we wanted to do about those lots, which have only like about a 20-foot backyard, and the rest of it's all drainage easement to encompass the swale along the back of the Scotland Street lots, which are these lots 19 through 24. We talked about a fence or PVC markers with signs, and I just don't remember which one, and I couldn't find it in my notes. So can your memories tell me a little better what we wanted to do about that? Erecting something so that the individual unit owners will understand that they can't put their swing sets, their sandboxes, their raised flower beds and things in the swale.
That would be on the, where would the fence be though? Be beyond the swale, wouldn't it? Or would it be to
It would
the,
be along the property line of the development. So if you were in the development looking at the fence, the swale and the drainage easement would be in front of the fence.
all right, so what would prevent them from would that prevent anyone from setting up something anyway in that swale or?
So, no, it wouldn't, but it would put them on notice. And part of the stormwater maintenance agreement that's part of these order of conditions will require periodic inspection by the homeowners association appointed person. And if they see that it's been obstructed, then they're supposed to report it to us.
Okay.
Now, another way you could do it is to put the fence on the development side of the drainage swale and put the signs on it, but people would probably just throw things over the fence because they won't be able to look at it anymore and don't care. And my thought would be is leave it as part of the lawn. It'll be, it won't be a ditch. It'll be a broad, shallow swale that will look something like the backyard, you know, with the grass, and it can be mowed and kept free of debris. So that's why I was proposing along the property line. But I can't remember if we want to put up a fence or just have the markers.
If I remember, I may be off here, but did we say the chain link fence might be a little unsightly? So,
Yes. I just
okay.
stuck it in there just to make a save the space, but yes, the chain links would be kind of ugly.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if we do the posts, and I'm noticing it here on our property, John, where we put the posts in, vegetation is growing around them and almost obscuring them now. So I would say if we put the posts in, they have to be kept clear of vegetation so they just don't disappear.
So this,
John, this is,
go ahead, Tim.
this is proposed for along the property line between the lots and the abutters on Scotland Street, correct?
That's
Right.
correct.
Would we want to have it at least one or multiple along all of those lots so that there's signs on both sides of this marker? I mean, I'm just wondering if the neighbors, the abutters, I don't want to have them encroaching into that swale, throwing stuff over the property line, going that way as well as the people living there throwing something in or building a structure or something.
That's an excellent idea to have the signs so that they can be, so that someone on both sides would know what that is in there. So if we do put PVC posts along the property line with the sign on both sides of the PVC posts, then that would alert everyone about what those swales are and that they can't be obstructed.
Right. At least they'd ask the question.
Right.
Hopefully.
Right, I mean, because the whole purpose is to help the drainage for both parties involved in this so that it can clear some up the water, the problems they have now. So I wouldn't expect anybody to want to fill them in or damage it, but if it's on notice and it's sold down the line, then at least they're there.
Right.
Right. It would really be behoove the Scotland Street abutters not to fill it in because it will help them if it's flowing freely, or it can hurt them if it's obstructed. And if they're the ones that obstruct it, it's going to really hurt them more than the development because the development is being filled up compared to what lots are. So I'll strike a 4-foot fence and we'll just talk about, in this particular number 34, we'll talk about posts.
Post and markers, yeah.
Posts and markers on both sides. All right, so
That
then
sounds good.
I think the only other item is that we have now required the cash surety to make sure that we get a certificate of compliance. And as you can see, number 40 is requiring a $15,000 cash performance bond to assure that we get the certificate of compliance. Is that a number that everyone feels comfortable with, or do you feel it should be more?
Well, it's hard for me to have an opinion on it because, you know, I think a lot of it is the developer Bishop's history of developing projects as to how well they were completed, and this is like a little bit of insurance. You know, I'm not sure if you made it 100,000, whether sometimes, you know, if people are intent on not finishing it, it isn't enough. But
yeah. Well, the idea that we came up with for the surety was to make sure there was enough money so that the engineer could be hired to do an as-built.
yeah.
So in coming up with a kind of a outline of different rates for different types of projects, I spoke with an engineer and asked them if they were to do an as-built of a subdivision that had, let's say, 20 lots, you know, what would it cost? And they said 10. And I figured anything above 20 would be 15. Now, naturally, if it was a 100-lot subdivision, we'd have to do something different. But above the 20 lots and up to a certain number, and I don't know what that number is, we settled on 15. And again, it's just for the as-built, not for completing the development. Because if they couldn't get...
generally, the developer provides the as-built, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay, sounds reasonable.
All right, that's pretty much it. It has the drainage agreements in there, the required inspections during construction, and then after the development is in operation, it has the required maintenance schedules or responsible person for it. The invasive plant control requirement. We did talk about a secure lockable gate that goes out to the septic system. So there's the leaching field that's up on the mound, and we had a gravel access road that we felt that possibly somebody would enter in there and get out into not only the septic system area, but the adjacent wetlands, and we wanted some type of prevention for that. And even during the construction phase, if people get out there with their four-wheelers, we need to have something to prevent them from going out there. So that's why that was put in number 23. Another is, we talked about this with the developer, but number 22, prior to construction of the roadways in this development, a written access easement over Maple Street from Scotland Street to the town-owned land located easterly of the proposed development will be prepared by the applicant. The access easement shall be written to protect the rights of the town to travel over that portion of Maple Street the town may already have, and shall be written to allow access over that portion of Maple Street that is currently owned by the developer. The developer must endorse and record the easement. Proof of recording shall be required at the after the easement is recorded. And it came up that if we already had rights to it, why do we need to do it? Well, this basically takes away any doubt in anyone's mind that if we already have it and the developer is acknowledging that, then it doesn't hurt anybody and it just solidifies the position of the town. As you recall, the layout of Maple Street had been enlarged from the 33-foot layout that is an ancient way to something more like a 40-foot roadway, and that was done by a strip of land on the southerly side of Maple Street. So that's where the other part of this comes in, is that we don't already own that, and we need the rights, and it would probably be conveyed over to the town at a later date anyway, but this assures that it's done right away.
Mhm. And we did address an issue regarding the model airplane facility too. Is that pretty much settled?
We will have to discuss that with the natural heritage people. So I don't know where that stands at this point, and so they're basically tenants at will at this point. So if we can't work that out, then they may have to leave,
Right. Okay.
unfortunately.
But as I think at the beginning of this document, you left it that it is open to the final decision, so that it's still on the table.
I'll make sure this additional number 41, that will cover that.
John?
So the rest of it's pretty well all our standard types of requirements. We have a erosion control specialist that's required to be hired by the applicant to monitor the construction phase, so that if there's any maintenance that needs to be done on the erosion control devices, that it is done without having to wait for someone from the town to get out there.
John,
Yes.
can I give a couple of comments, please?
Tim, is that okay? I guess it is. Fisher, go ahead.
Okay, two comments. Number one, if you don't mind, word that easement issue on Maple Street in such a way that says we can deed whatever rights we have, because we cannot, I'm not sure legally, as a condition that I can sign something I don't, that I don't own. So if it
Yeah.
can, if it can be worded so whatever rights we have onto Maple Street will be deeded over to the town.
Right. Yeah. No, I anticipate that's kind of how the wording would be.
Okay. The issue number or comment number two, would it be possible to word the issue on the fence versus the signs on the back of lots 19 to 24 that can be either or? Because and I'm not sure about that, but it is possible that the zoning board of appeals might want us to do a fence, and if we do a fence, I agree that the chain link fence is unsightly. If I do a fence, it won't be a chain link fence; it'll be a vinyl fence. So would it be possible, or would it be acceptable for the commission to have either or is that?
I would say it is, but I'll let the commission chime in on that. Can any of the commission members?
I don't have any problem. No.
No, I'm okay.
Nope.
As long as it's chain link. I'm just wondering, do we have to leave so much off the ground for the turtles? Like, would we have to leave an opening of so
Yep,
many
that's-
feet?
So somehow some of that got cut off, but if you guys can hear me, the MISA program would probably require that the fence be left up several inches off the ground so turtles could go under it.
Okay.
All right. Yep. I'm okay with that change, though.
All right, that's it. If it's, I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of it before I attach it to the actual DEP form. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Fish, did you have any other questions or comments?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. All right. If anybody else, any other comments?
No,
So probably at this point, I think it would be appropriate to, I know we already took a vote to issue the order of conditions, but maybe if we take another vote to issue as drafted,
Presented. Yep.
as presented.
I'll entertain a motion to issue the final order of conditions as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Moving second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right,
All right. Thank you, John. That was a little bit of work.
thank you. Good
gentlemen.
suggestions and things that you made this evening too. So the only thing that we have left on the agenda are the invoices. Oh, yeah, I got invoices and one other administrative thing. So you want to go into the invoices?
Yeah, why don't we?
Okay, the first one is for the subscription to the Zoom for July. And it is for $14.99 because the tax will not be paid by the town. So I basically donate that. And so I need approval for an invoice to come out of our meeting line item for $14.99, and it's coming out of, it was paid on the 28th of June, so it's coming out of last year's budget.
All right, then I will entertain a motion to authorize me to sign the invoice for the Zoom meetings for July.
I'll make the motion.
I'll
Second.
Moved and seconded. All
Either
those in
way.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, approved. Thank
All
you,
right.
John.
And then we have something of a quandary here, but I'll explain what I mean by that. The first item that I share with you is a scanner that is a high-speed scanner, and WB Mason has it on our West Bridgewater Concom catalog, which generally is less expensive than to the general public, for $449.99. So just for the heck of it, it'll bring up the second exhibit. I went online and was able to order it for $343.99. So apparently as a different entity, I was able to get it cheaper, so I went ahead and bought it. It's going to be able to speed up our scanning process because we can still use the slow copy machine in the office, but we can also use this
Oh,
high-speed
God.
scanner. And
Yeah.
what some of the things that happens with the copy machine is that we get jams, and I happen to actually know people that have this particular scanner, and they say it's very fast and takes less work to then download them and file them away after you've scanned them. So I went ahead and bought it. We had the money in the budget, and I feel it'll pay for itself in probably a couple of months. So I would
Have you
need,
used it?
I haven't got it yet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But we paid for it on the 30th. So it's coming out of last year's budget, and I need authorization to have Tim sign an invoice for $343.99, and we won't include the tax. Again, the town doesn't pay tax, so I'll donate that myself. It's worth it for the time savings that it'll be to me alone. So I would need a motion on that.
Sure. I'll make that motion that Jim sign it.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Aye. So moved. Thank you, John. That's going to,
That's weird
yes.
about the tax though, isn't it? All the items that the town buys, right, like supplies, they're all taxed, I would think, right?
No, we have a tax exemption. So as long as you can buy it from a town account, which means that they have to invoice you, then you turn around and give them the tax exempt number. And so we don't have to pay that portion. So everything that the town purchases and pays for by check, you don't have to pay the tax. But in order to get this done, yes. You were going to say, Mo?
My question was, all the things the town buys must have tax on it unless it's exempt, right?
So for the most part, everything is exempt. So we could have spent $449, almost $450, and not paid any tax on it, or we could buy it for 300 and whatever that number was, 340.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll donate the tax.
Yeah, I mean, I that's very
Crazy.
nice of you to do it. I was just hoping there might be some way you didn't have to do that, but I understand why you're doing it, so.
All right.
well, thank you, John.
You're welcome. So there's one item that I need to ask the commission, and you probably know that I've been trying to find ways to minimize the amount of time that it takes to put the minutes together. And during this COVID-19 work from home situation, we've had the luxury of having the minutes developed by watching the YouTube video of the meetings, which basically is the same as our length as our meetings, but then the minutes have to be, notes have to be taken from that YouTube and passed on to the person making the minutes, the drafting up the minutes. Then I get the minutes, to review so that when they go to you, they're more or less correct. And oftentimes I'm spending a similar amount of time as the person doing the minutes. So I would like to have the commission authorize me to take the notes at the meeting and put together a condensed version of the minutes, which meets the minimum requirements of the open meeting law and doesn't contain editorial comments or other things that may not pertain to the actual action taken by the commission. That way, even though it's taking some of my time, I think it would allow our administrative person, who is limited in the hours that she can put to the office each week, which is 6 hours for 3 days or 18 hours total. And rather than spending considerable amount of time putting together the minutes, the administrative work that I also am doing could be substituted. And so I feel that a better way to manage the office is to not have the minutes prepared by the clerical person in our office. But I don't want to make that a department head level decision. I need the support of the commission. And if you want to think about that and discuss it with me individually by email or telephone conversation, I'll be more than happy to expand upon what I've just basically given you a summary of. Or if you feel that it doesn't need that, you can decide tonight and let me know.
It seems to me, John, like on FinCom, we have a secretary that takes the minutes and types them up, an outside person. Is that feasible for what we do? Or would that conflict with the administrative side of it?
We would have to pay someone to do that. So that means that we'd have to take something out of our budget to do that. And for a while, I was doing some notes for the meeting and asking the administrative person to just type the minutes from that, which then I had to go back and review and add stuff and that kind of thing. So that was counterproductive. And then again, the only thing that really benefited in me assigning the task of just watching the video was that there wasn't much other work for the administrative person to do during this COVID-19, because all of the administrative stuff was really being handled by me, by going to the office on a daily basis or every other day, picking up stuff and doing things. So it didn't hurt. But now that, as of today, the town hall employees are supposed to be back at work. And Kitty's on vacation this week, but we'll be returning the following week. So we don't have that luxury of just saying, okay, keep yourself busy by watching the video and typing up some minutes, sending them to me, me spending an equal amount of time correcting them and filling in the blanks, which is surprising. That could be done by just watching the video and going back and checking it by the person preparing it, but that wasn't done. So I just don't see the value in having the minutes done this way, and I'd prefer to just put together some minutes. They'll be short, concise, and to this point, with nothing else added in for any color or commentary.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand your concern, and I guess my concern is that little by little, you get loaded up with more and more things that you're doing on your own, and I'm trying to help you out in that regard to, try and take that load off of you. But
And I appreciate that. But if I'm, like today, I spent an hour and a half fixing the minutes.
Yeah, if you're gonna have to review them again anyways, after already submitting something, it really is not speeding up the process any.
No.
right.
And
No,
the fact
you're
that
right.
we're one of the few, I think, boards or commissions in town that have pretty much videotaped or had our meetings broadcast for quite a while. So there's a pretty good archive. If anybody ever wanted to go back and see what our actual meeting was in detail, it's all still there. So I don't really have a
So
problem with
those,
keeping it short.
No, neither do I.
so the videos themselves could be the archive, or is that not true?
Yes, and the minutes, like tonight's minutes refer to them. It even gives the link to the video. And Nathan, if you could come back on board just so we could ask you a question. So my question would be, does that link to the YouTube stay on the internet forever?
As long as there's a public access station, I'm guessing it would be. I can ask Ben and get back to you.
That makes sense. Is there a second storage of that video other than on YouTube? Is there like another file that is kept by the public access TV?
It's in our server, and we keep it in our archives, our own archives of previous meetings.
I
So
see.
yeah,
So I guess even without the video, the minutes that I would prepare, and I've analyzed what the open meeting law requires, it's just a synopsis of the meeting and the votes that were taken. It doesn't require putting down what the engineer discussed about the drainage and what the agent felt he didn't like, and all of that. And the minutes would basically say who made the presentation, the very real general gist of what it was about, any of the commission's concerns. So if you have questions, those would be put in there, and then the vote. And that's, it'd be really streamlined and trimmed down from what we're seeing. Now, if you read the occasional planning board minutes that get distributed by Kitty to the members, those are detailed, and it's up to the planning board to decide on how they want to do it. But I don't believe that the commission needs detailed minutes like the planning board gets, or what we've had in the past that take so long to put together. And with a full-time person, clerical person in the office, we would revert back to having that person do them. But when there's so many administrative duties that need to be done that I end up doing, I'd much rather just make a synopsis of the meeting and get back to my work instead of having to wait for them, then edit them, and that kind of thing. So again, I don't want to make that decision only by myself and then have every should say, why did he do that? So I'm kind of explaining that.
So do the commissioners want to think about this, or do you want to make a decision tonight? I mean, I'm okay with shortening the minutes.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it too.
All right, then I'll entertain a motion that we direct John to shorten the minutes, and he can submit a shortened minutes for the meetings from now on.
I'll make
I'll make the motion.
A second?
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All set, John. Hopefully that'll speed things up and get a little more done in the office.
Okay, great, thank you. So I'll be
I have
preparing
just a,
cliff notes from now on.
I have a general question. I've noticed on some emails that I've been getting, and you probably are getting them too from MAC, that they have some virtual courses or presentations, but they're charging like $25 a pop. Do we have money in the budget to attend those things, or what do you think?
And if you would like to, I encourage it.
And yes,
Okay.
there is definitely budget money for that.
Okay. Yeah, they look very interesting. Not all of them, but several of them are pretty good. So
Just let us know, and we can work the payment out, however it is. I haven't participated in any ones that have costs, but we can do that.
okay, I'll just keep track of the receipts.
All righty. Anybody else have anything else? If not, then I'll entertain any motion to adjourn our meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye.